Hello Scrufftards, welcome to the Warzone. I'm Scruffy and this is Scruffy Tales. And like we suspected in our previous video, there might have actually been an ambush planned up at Kupiansk and the Russians suffered for it as they walked straight into it. But meanwhile, Russia is pushing at Pokrovsk. So let's take a look. Right, so we're starting off with Mayakovsk 73, Kursk, Sumy Oblast at Kino, and what's interesting here is the number of Ukrainian airstrikes. It's a real focus of Ukrainian airstrikes in this area, Sumy region, and this is something we've talked about before, and we know that the Russians have been complaining, even saying that the Ukrainians were flying as if they were the Israelis flying in over Iran, meaning at least air parity in the region, according to the guys on the ground. So it might not be air parity, but certainly the Ukrainians can operate more freely in Sumy and reaching Kursk in conducting these airstrikes. So Ukraine can provide very effective close air support in Sumy region and even can conduct airstrikes within Kursk, as we can see here. Moving down, of course, the interesting thing that we need to highlight, as we've seen on multiple maps now, that Ukraine has counterattacked here at Kupiansk, reclaimed Moskovka, and I'll show you what ISW wrote about this. I had to check up what, because there were conflicting reports what was going on. Was it a big infantry push or was it infiltration units? And the thing is, ISW had this part here red for the longest of time based on a few infiltration units moving down here, just confirming a Russian presence. But the other mappers like Mayakovsk 73, Andrew, and Deep State did not show the Russian advance here to the west because it was only infiltration units. And then they all showed this massive Russian advance down to the west, indicating that infantry units were actually moving down rather than infiltration units. And then we saw this. So we're going to take a look at what ISW has to say about it. So the commander of a Ukrainian company operating in the Kupiansk direction reported on August 29th that Russian forces are primarily attacking at night using infantry with thermal imagery devices and anti-thermal cloaks to find gaps and penetrate deep into Ukrainian positions to direct drone strikes against Ukrainian positions and logistics. Jaeger tactics. Handpicking the best of the best available, the natural-born soldiers. These are not Spetsnaz. They take the best soldiers, the veterans, the experienced, the intelligent, and give them high-end equipment like thermal imagery devices and these anti-thermal cloaks, and send them in to guide drone strikes, artillery strikes. This is Warfare 101. This is how you should use elite units. Nothing strange about it. The Ukrainian commander stated that Russian forces are relying more on infantry in the Kupiansk direction. Interesting. As Russian forces continue to struggle to transport heavy equipment across the Oskil River, makes perfect sense, and are remotely mining roads and leveraging sleeper drones. Yep, makes sense as well. Trying to isolate Kupiansk with the deploying mines with artillery and using drones to cover the approach points. And of course, yes, they need Kupiansk because there you have this one big bridge that they need to effectively come across the river. I'll show it in a moment after we've talked about this. An officer of a Ukrainian brigade operating in the Kupiansk direction reported that Russian forces are using small groups, occasionally consisting of a single soldier, in an attempt to gain a foothold near Ukrainian positions and conduct semi-sabotage operations. So this is more than likely what took place to the west of Kupiansk. And it was more or less doomed to fail. The Vatniks are gonna explode over this because, as I showed you in my other video when the rumors of this counterattack popped up, as I showed you, over here you have, according to the fortification maps, fortified positions up on the high ground. Moskovka and Sobolivka, they're down in a valley. This is a valley. This is low ground. And down here, along this very important supply line, you have thick layers of fortifications, and I assume the entire forest here is also fortified. So this is a fortification hub right here, according to the fortification map. And then the fortifications continue up this way, and then you have, of course, Kupiansk itself, which is a fortress with all the concrete buildings. And the Russians essentially moved in along the valley here, trying to establish a presence, more than likely with these infiltration units. And then, Ukraine moved in, secured Moskova behind them, and has since then begun cleanup operations to find these Russians trying to saturate over time the area over here to the west. How many Russians got lost in this operation? Who knows? But clearly, moving into this valley was a death sentence with such heavily fortified positions surrounding it. And then Ukraine made a concentrated effort in reclaiming Moscow. And now you have any Russians back here are isolated. They are deep behind enemy lines. The Ukrainians know where they are. And now Ukraine needs to do a grid by grid search in these woods to find them and take them out. So most maps, all maps I think, agrees that Russia has been pushed back to Radkivka and the woods here north of Kupiansk. This is an important move by the Ukrainians. Russia tried to once again move into an open gap in the defenses, left open on purpose. More than likely because Ukraine realized if the Russians are coming, we want to guide them into an area where we can easily defeat them. And that is in this valley where we have them surrounded on three sides with heavy fortifications where we just can wipe them out when we do strike. So that is the situation currently at Kupiansk. All the Vatnik channels, they were like, haha, Kupiansk will fall by the end of September. They're coming in, it's yada yada yada. Not realizing that just like we saw down at Pokrovsk, Russia had moved into one of these open gaps, left open but on purpose by the Ukrainians in this valley. And just like we saw at Kupiansk or down at Pokrovsk, Ukraine had a plan how to close the trap once the Russians entered this gap. So the Russians are back to square one in the assault on Kupiansk. Why was this so important? Well, they secured this highway, this supply line, very crucial supply line, but there is another one coming in from the south as well. And even if Russia had taken and cut the supplies here, that would not have been the end of it. You have roads here. Let's see if we can use Andrew's map here to highlight this as well. Let's see here. So yeah, you can see here, this is the road that the Russians had hoped to cut. It's a vital supply line to Kupiansk, but there is another highway going south, and as you can see, well, you have some bridges along it as well, but they've been blown. Here you have a road that the Ukrainians could have used here to reaching this main supply line. There are other roads further south as well that continue across the terrain here. If the map wants to play ball. Where was it? Yeah, you can zoom in over Vorontsivka. You can see here. I mean, it's not tarmac or paved roads, but at least it's dirt roads. There are roads through the countryside that can be used for logistical purposes in reaching this southern going highway. So just because Russia had taken this, it would have been an issue for the Ukrainians, absolutely, but there are options in bringing in supplies across the fields and the valleys, reaching the supply line here from the south as well. So supplies would not have been cut had they taken it. It would have been an issue, absolutely, but not without the ability to solve it. This is the bridge, by the way, that the Russians are after. Since they have issues moving big, heavier units across the river, They need this bridge. All the other bridges are blown up. You can see here, this is what all the bridges along the Oskil look like, except this one in Kupiansk. So that is why the Russians are desperate to take in Kupiansk, this one bridge. Now people are gonna say, why can't Ukraine blow it up? If they leave, they can. They probably will. But all the roads, as you can see, all roads lead to Kupiansk. That means you're gonna build with your own bridges right next to these bridges or close to them, because all the roads lead here. You want to use the roads, all the roads take the Russians and the Ukrainians to Kupiansk. So if all the bridges are blown, you're going to build your own bridges with the engineer corps and what have you to be able to utilize the road network, right? So the roads guides you to where you're going to move logistics, where you're going to make operational maneuvers, not tactical. Tactical maneuvers are off-road, off in the woods or in a field. Operational maneuvers are done along roads. And heavy equipment, logistics, transports, tanks, all of that, like I always say, behaves like water, path of least resistance, and that is, generally speaking, moving along a road. And so that is why Kupiansk is of such importance for the Russians. And this is the ISW map. Here you can see how the Russians have been forced back out of this valley. Like I said, not surprising, because the Russians were surrounded on three sides by heavy Ukrainian fortifications. This is not the only place where Ukraine has had some advance. You can see here, south of Ivanivka, Russia has some gains here, but blue, Ukraine has pushed the Russians back in this area here. And going up to Pokrovsk, we are going to talk about this situation, and also this situation, and down here you can see here, red, Russia has advanced a bit. And interesting here is that you can see on Andrew's map here, this blue here used to be where Russia infiltrated and they tried to push in and secure this factory here, and now Ukraine is back in control of all of it, according to most of the mappers. So that is very crucial for Rodinske. During the breakthrough operation, Russia launched a massive assault straight at Rodinske. They tried to come in north and coming down to the west of it, and as well coming in south, aided by artillery and airstrikes. It was a big assault to take Rodinske. And then Ukraine made a counter move, came down this way along the railroad here that the Russians had taken. And since then, Ukraine has cut the Russians off, and they have since then done mop-up operations and secured the territory surrounding Rodinske to the west and north. Might still be infiltration units operating, but the larger frontline units have been pushed back, if not completely destroyed, north of Rodinske. And also the town up here where there was indications that Russia could move through here to support their units up here, that seems to be back under Ukrainian control as well. So that is very good news that Ukraine has been able to secure this part of the battlefield. Coming down to Mykolaiivka, Novoekonomice, this part here seems to be a fluid battlefield. Ukraine moved in, Russia has since then moved back and taken territory here along this part of the street. This is drawing lines on a map like this is difficult in an urban environment, because there could be Russians in this building, Ukrainians over here, Russians down here, Ukrainians up here, and then you might have a foxhole here with Russians over here, and a trench line in between with Ukrainians. It's gonna be shifting back and forth. So, but this is generally speaking what the maps are telling us, how the situation is, sort of, kind of, massive pinch of salt, but Russia is conducting counter operations here towards the Ukrainian presence. And we've also seen on the maps that Russia has, like we said, moved up to link up here at the dam north of the lake, indicating that they are indeed aiming to take control of this part as well. They've cut the supply lines coming through here into Myrolubivka. Now I'm thinking they're gonna try and take these windbreaks here, so Ukraine can't move up this way and drive across the open field to reach Mykhalaivka in this part here. So probably gonna come in here to take this area as well, to completely isolate any Ukrainians in Myrolubivka, Mykhalaivka. So a lot of back and forth down here. Ukrainians seems to still be holding Myrna. They seem to be holding on decently in Novoekonomice. There's been some Russian counterattacks down here. Moving up to Shakova. And this is a claim, not confirmed yet by anyone, but the claim is that Russia has been able to leave these windbreaks and pushed out to the edge of this hill. You have a valley to the north of it, a valley to the south of it. And the claim is that they've taken the edge of the hill here and been able to move down the slopes. The brown area is the slopes, green is the top of the hill. And actually been able to push into this part of Shakova. Which is really important for the Russians, and bad news for the Ukrainians, because in and around Shakova we have 5 bridges. A bridge here, another bridge up here, you have 2 bridges here, and the 5th bridge should be down here. So these 5 bridges is what Russia wants out of Shakova and the surrounding towns in order to cross this river to reinforce this position here. And like we've said in previous videos, from here they can then make moves towards the Syrsky line. They can begin making moves towards Dobropilya, or reinforcing southwards towards Rodinsk and Pokrovsk. So Shakova is extremely important, and I've been worried for a very long time that Ukraine has not been able to push into this part of the battlefield. The focus is up on Kocherev Yar. This is a massive distraction, drawing Ukrainian resources away from this area, and this has allowed Russia to move in troops, fortify, and now may more than likely begun operations towards Shakova and these 5 bridges. And also, should the Russians take Shakova and the bridges and can link up with their forces here or to the east, that means they have effectively bypassed the situation at Myrna. Myrna is a great threat to the Russians. If Ukraine can push north to Kopcheve, they have effectively isolated all the Russians to the west. But if Russia can instead move north here to Popiev Yar and come into Shakova and begin reinforcing this part of the battlefield west of the river, then Myrna has been bypassed and Myrna is no longer a massive threat. So yeah, this is an important move by the Russians, and Ukraine needs to lock it down and do something about it. This part here between Shakova and Novoshakova, this is where Ukraine needs to begin operations, or maybe coming through here. Even though this is the breach point of the front line, the Russians are gonna fortify like crazy here to make sure it's not closed, so Ukraine can't close the gap. But I mean, if they can't push in here, Ukraine, then Russia is just going to move in more and more troops until they can actually push in, like we're seeing, and taking Shakova. So yeah, we'll see how it all plays out. Right, that's gonna have to be it. I hope you found it interesting. I hope I'll see you in the next one. As always, go på marsch Ukraine and give them hell.